Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Who doesn't love Friday? Because that means that it's Saturday and Sunday coming. So I hope that you're feeling as excited as me. And wherever you are, if you find us via YouTube, ADP List, or LinkedIn, thank you so much. And we're so happy to have you here. My name is Juliet. I'm one of the co-founders for Cherry on Tech. And what is happening right now, we are doing a 6-week summer job readiness support space. We don't do this for Cherry on Tech. This is the first time that we have kind of a structured initiative where we share a little bit of more than sharing, bringing the guest speakers that they can share their knowledge and what they have used and know and share with everybody. So a little bit about the breakdown. We have 6 weeks. Last week, we have Clea. She let us know a little bit about the strengths and values. Right now, we are in week 2. We are building confidence, soft skills, and how that we couldn't put it all together in storytelling. That's this week with Christina. Next week, portfolio development, then resume linking optimization. Week 5, networking, industry engagement. And week 6, mock interviews and feedback. If you haven't yet, go to our LinkedIn or YouTube and watch class so you get to learn more, and you get you learn every week a little more that you can use up. Today again, we have Christina. For our portfolio development, we have divided in 3 guest speakers. So we have software engineers, we have PMs, and we have UX designers. So a lot of is going on for you to stay up to what is happening. The best one, just go to our LinkedIn YouTube channel, sign up for the events so you don't miss them. So let's do what we came for today. Let's have our guest speaker. Hello. How are you, Christina? So nice to have you here.
Good. Thanks for having me, Juliet.
Yeah, this is so exciting. And again, I feel like I forgot to share on the event, but Christina is one of our mentors for our last cohort. And I love to have people that is being so active and amazing as a mentor to still them and have them as a guest speaker. Why not? There is so much good information and knowledge that they can share. Why don't we start telling people who are you? But before that, sorry, if you are getting YouTube and LinkedIn, make sure that you write down your questions on the chat so I get to see them and I get to ask Christina. We were going to have a Q&A at the end, so make sure that you type them in. So Christina, who are you?
Well, my name is Christina Guerrier. My pronouns are she and her. I am currently in the middle of a career transition myself. And, I would love to start from the back, but I actually like to tell you a little bit of forward story. So
Yes.
through a journey of discovery, I've decided in 10, 15 years time, I want to become a chief operating officer for a biotech or tech startup.
That's a big dream. Yes, yeah, a big dream. Love it.
And, and as when you have a goal, I think it's easier to look back and realize what you have done. And as you progress in your career and talking to a lot of different chief operating officers, because that's where I aim to be, I realize careers are not linear. They are squiggly, and it's not about the titles. It's about what you have learned to build you up to the journey that you want to get to the road that you want to make for yourself. So I have held a lot of different roles in healthcare and biotech, ranging from management consulting, frontline, non-clinical administration, quality management, research, and lastly, a program manager at a biotech startup.
Love it. Yes, thank you so much. I want to know more about the dream. And I feel like that's the next question. So can you walk us through to your career journey? How did you ended up in this current position?
Yeah, so how did I end up in this position? I always knew I wanted to be in healthcare. I spent a lot of times in the hospital when I was a kid. I was a sickly child, and I'm also a first gen college student, first gen English speaker. And I helped my family navigate a lot of those situations. I navigated my own care as well because I was telling doctors to, explain to me how it is. And that's how when I was in college, I really wanted to become a doctor. But unfortunately, that was out of reach. When I found out about it, I cried about it for a week. And then I started talking to people, and someone introduced me to the path of pharmaceutical marketing. Um, and that's how I ended up my first role as a management consultant for life sciences pharmaceutical companies. And then I had to take a step back in my career. Careers are not linear, and my dad unfortunately passed away, and I lost my job within that 2 weeks, and I became really sick. And to pay the bills, I took on a role that was at that time easy. You clock in, you clock out, and then you leave. And as I walked through it, because I talk about the skill sets, right? You're building different skills. And I got noticed for quality management. Someone in that department came to me. And as I grew in my career, I wanted to do more. And that's how I transitioned into research and from there into biotech.
Love it. And again, I feel like if you haven't watched last week, Clea's talk about not storytelling, strength and your uniqueness. I love when people get to share how they get what they are today, because everything that you told us is just so unique to your story and just brings so many skills and different things that you have learned from you that is just so powerful. So I think for us in the next 6 weeks, when we are talking to people and bringing all of these into the conversation, is for all of you viewers to know that your story is going to be the most powerful thing when you're talking about yourself. This is, and I mean, you told us just a little story. You can just, there's so much in it, yes?
Yeah, and that is right. When I was in this cohort with my mentees, I talk about finding the things that you love to do and, jotting it down, things that, will fill your cup, that make you really excited, and things that drain your energy. And soon you will discover a pattern of what you're really good at. So it doesn't matter your role or title anymore, but what do you bring to the table and how you can contribute to the team.
I feel like we can go on about this topic forever, talking about who we are and our strengths. Sadly, we just did it in a week, but I feel like today, with that in mind and the storytelling and how to bring those strengths and our soft skill mix to, like you were saying, to pretty much every role, is going to help. You mentioned something at the beginning that you are in a career transition, and that's our next question, because I feel like a lot of people, at least for Cherry and Tech, and I forgot to share for some of you, you don't know about Cherry and Tech. Cherry and Tech is a volunteer organization where we empower underrepresented genders, so women, non-binary, and trans folk, to get in the tech by the power of a tech squad. And we have mentors that help us to guide them through the 15-week program that we have under the cohort program. A lot of them are career switchers, yes, and they come from so many different spaces into tech. And something, Christina, that you mentioned too is like, oh, I'm not in tech. How is this related? And I mean, this is the most powerful thing again, that whatever you are, those skills are going to translate really well wherever you go. I forgot the question, but the question was, what practical steps can you share for people who is listening to us and watching us later about building their confidence when transitioning into a different career or different space?
Yeah, I think, it reminded me of my journey to Cherry on Tech, because I told you I was in the middle of a career transition, so I was exploring what I could do next. And someone mentioned a product manager, and it never crossed my mind. And I actually networked with a lot of people to figure out what a product manager do and what. And then I came across Cherry on Tech. And originally, I actually wanted to sign up to be a mentee in this cohort. And as I interviewed with your team, and really understand, because I was trying to show how my transition was, and one of your team members asked me to be a mentor instead. So I think my that's the long answer to it is going out there, talking to people with the roles that you want. How do they get there? And I also supplemented my knowledge of what a product manager does with some courses online and begin to look back at my path. So I shared with you earlier on that, I have a lot of family in Vancouver. We came from Hong Kong. We call a bedside table a bedside table. I came to United States, they call it a nightstand, right? So, when I look back at my career, I've actually done a lot of the things that a product manager has done, but I just didn't call it the specific terminology. So when you do that, when you talk to people, take the class, some courses, or even read articles about that and understand the language, you can tailor your narrative to your audience. So if they speak in the product manager language, tailor your narrative. So instead of I designed, a dashboard and I use PowerPoint to do some boxes and mock-up, you can say wireframe.
Love it. And I it's really interesting when you were saying about that you wanted to be a mentee or a participant on our cohort, because I will say that you were or has been one of the most collaborative and have shared so much knowledge during the cohort as a mentor. So it's really powerful, and I feel that that comes to mind again, like realizing what are your strengths and what you're good at it, and like transforming it into what is needed for that. And that has to do with a lot of imposter syndrome too, that we were talking just at the beginning about this, and hear us talking about it again. But imposter syndrome is such a common feeling for people transitioning into careers. And I feel like just in general, just being at your work and seeing how other people is doing, like what is happening or what is happening in your life. So how can someone overcome it? So how do you overcome imposter syndrome?
So I know we talked about I texted you about it, and I actually had a Dove chocolate right before I came on, and it was perfect for imposter syndrome. It said overthinking is prohibited for the next few moments.
What? That's so, I love those confidences. Oh, I love it. So good.
Talk about the timing, right? And to me, that is, we all, I think, especially in today's day and age, it's easy, right? To look at social media, to look at a perfectly put curated content, LinkedIn profile, and say, wow, that person has it together. But as you talk to more people and just being authentic about it, you realize everyone, has that imposter syndrome. They question themselves whether they're doing well enough. And I think that is what makes people grow too. Because if you're so comfortable with where you are, that growth might not be happening.
Love it. I want those chocolates too for every day. Every time there is something happening, I open it and they gives me like a pop in my head and my back. Love it. Yeah, that's yeah. And
Yeah.
again, I feel like it's just so easy, and we all have done it to get into that rolling thoughts of like, I don't think that I'm enough. I don't think that people is paying attention. I think that my work is not good. I don't have enough experience. I have never done that. Um, it's so easy to get in that space. And I mean, again, for a lot of people that I have as a guest speakers, or when I'm talking to a lot of people as a mentees too, is so much about the mindset. Again, talking here with me, uh, it doesn't sound easy when we're talking about this before. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be nervous. I don't know how much I have to say about this. I don't know if people will listen. But again, we're here just sharing our stories, where we're coming from, and how this is so powerful. And again, just jumping into just chatting about this is breaking that imposter syndrome and saying, yes, maybe there is not much there, but let me try anyway and do it. So that's one of the first steps.
Yeah, and I think also having a core group of friends who are, professionally at the same level or even different levels as you helps. Even in my career journey, I have a group that I lean on, and we're all going through this together. And sometimes when I get to those, I don't think I'm good enough for this, they help remind me too. Like, what are you talking about?
Yes. Oh, I love that. And again, when we are talking about the job readiness support space, that's the most powerful thing about the 6 weeks is having people around you that are going to empower you with your own story. And if you are not in the job readiness support space, that's okay. I feel like Christina was mentioning, you're going to have a lot of loved ones, you're going to have a lot of friends that if you come to them and say, oh, I don't think that I can do this, they will say, oh my goodness, don't be silly, you have done this before, you are so good, you have demonstrated. Yes, we do all need to improve a lot of our skills. And I think that's an important thing to be aware, that we are not perfect and we will never be, but that we can keep working to just be better. So just surround yourself with people that love you and that are going to encourage you to grow. Can you tell us or share a personal story of a time when you have to build confidence in a new role?
Well, I recently took on a consulting project, I think back in May, and that was really a little bit pushing myself out of my comfort zone and having built that confidence, because as a solo consultant, working on a client job, I don't have someone to bounce off as a sounding board because of confidentiality, and I just have to lean in to tell myself, if I didn't have the capability, I wouldn't have had the contract. They wouldn't ask this of me. Yeah.
Love
Mhm.
it. And I feel like that's always to come back to you, to your own self, and remind you, who are you, what you have done. Um, Sometimes is, I mean, people believe that I can do this. I showed them that I saw like what I can do, and I can do it. Yeah. So it's always to come back that initial beginner when you apply for the job to be a consultant, because you thought that you have the capabilities and the knowledge to do it. Yeah.
Right. And I also, encourage people to have a bread list when you have an achievement like that. So say I've done really well in client work and my clients sing praises. I write it down in my notebook now, a bread list that I just can refer back on, and say, hey, I've done that. And just keep reminding yourself that, you have accomplished, different things.
Yeah. And I was thinking too that maybe sometimes we go into spaces where we do not know absolutely everything. And that's scary too. Yes. I don't have that question on my list. But what that happen, or what does go to your mind when you see something that maybe you haven't done in the past, and
Mhm.
you have to deliver and you have to do it?
Yeah. Well, thank goodness of Google or the internet these days that does that. And having the professional networks, even, we talk about Cherry on Tech as a cohort, helping people, but And I'm going to put in a plug for Cherry on Tech right now. Even you graduated as the cohort, we still have a very strong alumni group that is there that you can, plug in. So if you find those professional networks, it could be on Cherry on Tech or something that's more related to your industry, building those relationships help too, because, there's always something someone doesn't know. And with collective, resources, you can figure it out.
And I feel like that always what happened. Yes, you ended up figuring it out at the end. Yes, that we will make mistakes in the way, and there is a better way to do it. But again, you learn from that process, and there is something new that you have in your skill set that you can show with people or tell them about it.
Mm-hmm.
Can you provide some examples of soft skills that people should have in their pockets and they're really useful?
I would say the biggest one is being curious. Being curious, not being afraid to ask questions. And along the way, I also learned that asking it in the right way, right? So you can ask a question in a certain way that would show that your inquisitiveness is truly from a place of curiosity. So I think in terms of soft skills, that's the biggest trait that I think anyone could have, being curious and how to leverage it to collaborate with others.
I have a question about here. Let's say that I have been curious in my previous job. Let's put an example about in retail. I work in retail, and I was curious about what people was feeling, like in the job place, or I was curious about find different spaces when we can recruit people. How do I demonstrate these skills that I have done in retail, and now I'm moving into a new space? How I can tell people that I have done it?
Mm-hmm. So, if you talk about retail, you're curious about how people feel, how to grow the business, right? Guess what? Say if you are in SaaS, you need to figure out your subscribers. How do they feel about your product? How to grow the SaaS product. So, let's go back to what is the language that we typically use in tech and SaaS: user research, customer research, and business cases, right? Your business cases, why you are doing this, because of that. So it's just a different vocab. If you learn the vocab, you can then translate what you do to your current role or the role you're aiming for.
And I feel like again, this link again to curiosity is like, are you talking to enough people in the space that you wanted to move in to know how they're talking about what kind of Islam vocabulary, how they are talking about work? Yes, because yes, I want to move into there, but if you haven't done the research and you haven't been curious enough about it, then maybe that's how you're missing how to translate your skills into something more tangible in the other side. Something else that I always love to mention is practice. How much are you practicing to talking about yourself and using all this new vocabulary and translated this into so many different people? I feel like sometimes when I talk to people, they say, yes, I have talked to one person this week. It's like, in the month, I have just talked to a new person. It's like, well, then you are not really practicing and you are not developing this skill of storytelling on how to translate your skills.
Yeah.
Do you talk to a lot of people about yourself when you are moving into different careers, spaces?
Oh, yes, yes. I will even tell you now, I've been in a career. I started my career transition in December. How I talk about myself then versus now is very different. You tweak your elevator pitches, you tweak, what language you use based on feedback. You can see what resonates with people too, because I always say when you're networking, you always ask, who are two other people I should talk to, and if you would mind making a warm introduction. And you can kind of judge whether you felt a little flat on your speech, or how you present yourself based on that.
Love it. Yeah, because again, if you are not testing your communication skills, then how do you know that it's working and that your message is translated into what you want? Yes. So
Mhm.
if I'm talking to people into the space that you wanted to move in, and with people that are absolutely not related to that environment, and to see if those two different spaces understands you and can pinpoint who you are, what you want.
Yeah.
I love that. I feel like practice is going to be a big one, and the awareness. I love that awareness. Like, again, I know that you mentioned already a little bit of that awareness, but how do you cultivate awareness when you're practicing a skill?
That's a good question. Um, I would say, I have a little diary that kind of blocks off, what I want to work on. And every day before I go to bed, I kind of look at it to see whether I've done it or not. And, that's how I start, uh, seeing whether I've practiced what I preach, right? Um, yeah, that. And also, finding out what sticks for you. Because my advice, or Julia, if your advice to someone might not work for them. So you really have to figure out what works for you. But I do have to say, it does require, pushing yourself outside the comfort zone a little bit.
Yes, I love that part, definitely. And like you were saying, like for you to improve from last year to where you are right now, and being aware, like, oh my goodness, this is happening. That requires a lot of practice and, again, awareness. And we come back to that point of being surrounded of people that is going to give you honest and feedback that is going to help you to grow. Yes. And I feel like that's what is so important, to have mentors or people that you can trust to come in and share where you are and where you want it to be. Um,
Mhm.
how can storytelling can be useful to enhance someone's personal brand and professional journey? Oh, who
One
is
sec.
that? Oh, good. Okay, who is that? Oh my goodness. Oh, someone wants to leave. I'm like, I'm done with this conversation. Oh no, doesn't want to leave. He just wants to
No, he doesn't
come
want to
here.
leave. He just wants to be around. Sorry, what was your question again?
Yes. How can storytelling be used to enhance someone's personal brand and professional journey?
Yeah. You mentioned it, Juliet, earlier on, that we're all different, right? There's no two Juliets in the world. They might have the same name, maybe they look the same.
Maybe even not the same name. My name is hard to find. But yes, go on.
Or a doppelganger that look just like you, right? But we all have different stories and different journeys. And and that is how you use it to develop your brand. Because if I tell you, Juliet, write about clinical trials and biotech, you'll be like, yeah. And you can tell me to write about, user design and user research and, or retail. And I'll be like, yeah. So it's weaving in those stories that are uniquely you, right? And that will resonate. And you can kind of test it out by talking again with people to figure out what would stick and what wouldn't. And just note those that stick and utilize them more when you talk about how you present yourself, how you yourself in LinkedIn, different spaces to build your personal brand.
Something that I'm thinking too, and usually now that I've been doing a little more like portfolio case studies reviews, and a lot of time, one of the questions that I ask whoever is presenting is like, what are the strengths or skills that you wanted to highlight while you were presenting? And I feel people is like, what do you mean? It's like people, I think they were just presenting their case study, presenting like their portfolio, and they totally forget about who they are and the skills that they want to highlight during that story. Like every time that you're talking to someone about yourself, like networking, you are presenting yourself and selling yourself and highlighting your brand. So I feel like a good one, when you are thinking about like a pitch elevator kind of idea, is like, what are the strengths and skills that you want to highlight in this story, and how those unique journeys that you have in the past. Again, for me, I will say retail, or I will say my photojournalist, like what strengths in these two spaces I can highlight that it will be important for my next UX role. And that's being intentional and conscious about this. So what usually are the strengths or skills that you highlight in your storytelling?
Yeah, in my storytelling, one of my biggest strengths is because I'm curious, because I'm willing to talk with people, that helps me work cross functionally. So that is one of the things that I hold into. So the communicator piece really helps. And that is what drives me, or I can really help use it to help me implement complex solutions, to drive strategic solutions, to do process development and improvement. So you can see these are the three things that I can bring to companies, but why? It stems from my curiosity and my willingness to chit chat. And, my son actually, he was younger, like way younger for career day. They have to tell people what the parents do. And he said, my dad is a digital engineer. My dad stares at the computer all day, and my mom just is on the phone or talking to someone, and she just laughs all the time.
I love it. Yes. And I love this, yes, because I mean, when you were mentioning about that connection that you are making with people, like sitting down with them, listening, asking questions, again, being curious, you are building relationship, you are building confidence, you are building trust to work and collaborate together. So
Mhm.
I think that the other part of just thinking about the story, like the things that you have done in the past, just thinking about those strengths, that's how then connecting with different things and skills that you can do at work. And they're so powerful when you start like breaking them down and being so conscious about it. I feel like we haven't talked too much about being conscious. Is like not just to say, yes, I'm great at collaborating with people, but what does that mean? How can I improve the work? How can I make the team better?
Yeah.
Just being so conscious will help you a lot.
Yeah, and asking the why, right? Like sometimes when you're in a role, even you look back at your past experience, you ask yourself, why did I do that? What kind of questioning yourself, why did you do that? And again, I saw the pattern of why I did what I've done. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good one. And you mentioned that you have your little book or list, all the cool things and amazing things that you have done. Um, just having that, and then you are like, how did you get there? There is so much history. Yes, there were some roadblocks, there were hard moments, and you were able to get to that winning space or whatever amazing thing that you did. And remembering all those parts that were in between to get there, that's so powerful. Again, we're coming back to the strengths, to the story, like being conscious, intentional. I feel like I'm throwing so much stuff to people. I hope that we are all getting it. um, mm, mm, mm. Okay, what are common mistakes that people make with discussing their past experience, and how can they avoid those mistakes?
I think, I think it's always it comes as the dreaded question during interviews. Tell me about yourself, right? Um, I've learned that if you really tell me about yourself, go way back, you're losing people already. I think tell them where you want to go and then bring them along the journey. I think I did that earlier. I told you in 10 to 15 years, I want to become a COO. This is what I'm doing to get me there.
And I feel like with this question that always come to mind too, they tell you where they are right now, and they forget to tell you who they are. If this makes sense,
Yes.
like there
Mm-hmm.
is a lot, like I don't know, yeah, just going. So it's like, oh, I'm a UX designer, that I'm good at A, B, and C and D, and it's like you didn't tell me absolutely anything else about you. Like I feel like people keep forgetting about their story and their uniqueness, and how that unique story is making them who they are.
Yes, and I think that also, it's so generic, right? I'm a UX designer. I'm good with ABC. Why don't you tell me about your favorite project so I can see the spark and joy when you talk about it, and that's also what I've used. Sometimes I'm like, you know what, let me tell you something exciting that's going on, and you can really see my face light up. You can see like, oh, if you're talking this project, okay, now I want to learn more because you are absolutely beaming right now.
Mhm. And again, I feel like we come back to the practice piece. Yes, I feel like if people were in a space that they practice this, tell me about yourself, with different type of people, they get to see, is this working? Is people like getting what I'm telling them? Are they connecting with my story? Are they connecting with who I am? Can they name all the strengths and skills that I'm telling them in my about me section, or tell me about me?
Yeah.
This is a lot of try and see what it works and not.
Right. Definitely. And I actually know of someone, and I love his method. He does a lot of mentoring, and he sends a feedback every now and then. Hey, if you had an interaction with me in the past month or two, can you fill out this Google link, right? And I feel like especially within this community of user research, apply those skills to yourself. So if you don't feel like asking someone directly, follow up with a link like, hey, I'm on this journey. Like, I would love, your feedback. It can be anonymized so that people don't feel like, oh no, but if you like to follow up, you can say, you can leave your name or whatnot. But I think that is a good way too. And also, you can read people's expressions, right? If Judith is just, and I'm like, okay, I
I don't
lost
think
her.
I can do that. I feel like for me, I'm always thinking, Juliet, just try not to be too expressive. But it's like, that's really hard. Or, yes, anyway. But that's totally true. Like, how much time are you spending practicing the skill of storytelling and telling your story? With this in mind, um, when we are interviewing and when we are into like a new space, a new career, we will have different people that we need to talk to. Yeah. So we will have the recruiter, then we will have maybe the HR from the company, maybe we will have like the director level of the company, we will have like a coworker. How do we tailor our storytelling and our soft skills to be able to have a good message with all of these different people that we're talking?
I think we kind of need to take a step back because, we talk about different people, right? But it's not, sure, it's a little bit about impressing them, but it's also a two-way street. You want to understand if that's, the people you want to work with, and treat it like a conversation. So, say I am working with talking to someone of a peer of another department, ask about things that whether, what they love about the company, what do they feel proud of, and then if you have your kind of background to tell me about speech, right? You're able to come very quickly and say, this is, who I am, kind of what I bring to the table and why, and just move on to have a very natural conversation.
I feel like I love that natural conversation piece, because yes, it's an interview, it's networking, and we are just in this professional square. Yes, and it's like it doesn't look like we can be personal, be unique, but I feel like that's a good one. I feel like then you will feel like you can talk a little more relaxed because you are equals. I feel like that's an important part too, that whoever you are talking to, that could be the CEO of the company, or it could be the HR, or it could be the person that you're going to be working with. We are all equal, and it shouldn't be like this big difference of how we talk. So I feel like that would be a good one. The other one, and I think something that you mentioned right at the beginning, if you're able to talk to different people, and again, maybe HR is going to be looking for more for your experience in a more detailed way,
Mm-hmm.
compared to if you talk again, in my case, with the UX director, they would love to see your experience about projects and how you work with others. And if you talk to, for sure, there will be like a PM. I had I'm just talking about my experience. If you
Right.
talk to a PM and interviews, they will love to see how do you collaborate with them, like how the interaction will be between the two of you. So your message of skills and strengths are going to be similar, but deliver in different ways depending who are you talking with.
Exactly. And then also the questions that you bring back to the table,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Will be very different too.
Yes. How do you figure out those questions?
You know, researching the company,
Mhm.
and actually sometimes before the interview, I also try to talk to people who are working for the company too
Mhm.
at different levels, or people who have left the company, just to kind of get a sense of what's going on and then ask the questions that you also need to know in order to make sure this is the right fit for you, right? So for me, a cultural fit is very it is a big deal to me. So a supportive learning environment. So I will ask the hiring manager or the directors, can you tell me when you have supported someone in their career growth? Or to a coworker is like what who's reporting to the same person, when can you tell me about a time when so and so really supported you in sharing that? Or what's if at a CEO level, at higher up, what's a company initiative that you're very proud of?
Love it. Okay, we're at the time, but if we can give 3 tips for people to take home about how to talk about soft skills and how to enhance their storytelling to talk about themselves, what those will be the 3 tips?
Experiment. um feel uncomfortable. You have to feel uncomfortable before you get there, and find there are a lot of safe ways to practice. So find them. It could be a community like Cherry on Tech, it could be Toastmasters, lunch club. There are a lot of avenues, and people are always willing to help and talk about their stories too. So don't be afraid to reach out.
I love Lunch Club. I think it's something that I mention every time that I talk to a mentee. Such an easy way to book one. I feel like you can do multiple meetings a week with, let's say, random people that have the same interest, but maybe they are not in the same industry, but they're
Hmm.
willing to sit down and talk with you about your story, and you can listen their story, and then you get to test you talking to people about yourself. So I feel like that's such a good one.
And
Lunch
it's
club.
low stakes too, it's
Yeah.
very low stakes.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, I love it. It's just so easy. You just
Yeah.
show up. Well, I mean,
Mhm.
you do your
Right.
profile, you share, you choose the things that you're interested, but then you just say, yeah, I want to meet someone on Wednesday at 12, and then you just show up and talk. I have
Exactly.
met amazing people in Lunch Club that until today we are in talk contact, and we are in the same network. So I love it.
Exactly. Same here.
Yes,
Yeah.
Christina, thank you so much for this. How did it go? How do you feel?
I feel great. Well, thank you for just being encouraging and don't let
Yeah.
me back out. I
No.
definitely did step out of my comfort zone a little bit today, and I'm feeling much better about it.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much again. And for all of you, next week, starting Sunday, we're going to talk about portfolio spaces, engineer, UX design, and product management. So if you know where the dates, you want to know the dates, coming to our LinkedIn or YouTube, the events are already there. So see you, everybody. And this was so good. Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.